Welcome to the MBD podcast show where we dig into what's actually working or not when it comes to scaling businesses with the people who've been there, and today's guests definitely been there. So why don't you go ahead, introduce yourself, tell them about where you've been, what you're up to.
Yeah, my name's John Gauch, and I work as a fractional COO, and I've been doing that for 5.5 years. And I actually started off my career as a tech lawyer back in the day and had a series of progressive roles on the business side after leaving law firms, and had just observed the pattern of how valuable a trusted right hand person could be to a founder,
Mm-hmm.
an operating partner kind of on their team and on their side, helping them grow businesses. And not every founder has that helper. And so I started doing fractional work in part to fill that void for people who need that kind of support.
Awesome. So when you start working with a company, with the founder, what are areas of opportunity you're looking at to help them scale and prevent any failure from taking place?
Yeah, so I'm typically working with founders who have had some success, right? So, there may be $1 million plus in revenue, for
Mm-hmm.
example, and um, often they are drowning in their success, right? So the business has kind of grown beyond the approaches and systems and practices that got them to that point. And so they are usually, overwhelmed, overworked, and not able to focus on the things that are most important to move the business to that next level.
Mm-hmm.
Usually, like they've kind of known they've kind of known about the situation for a while, and oftentimes something kind of bad happens that triggers them to actually do something about it. So maybe they lose a big customer, or for example, right? And that's usually the tipping kind of event that leads them to kind of start searching for help.
Got it. So, it's a big part of the growth trajectory, right? Like you get to a point where you've been operating at your full capacity for a period of time, minimal help. And then it's like, wait a minute, I need someone to come in, identify how I can make things more efficient, free up time, even, bring on headcount. So that way we're able to be more successful and bring on more big clients.
Yeah, exactly. It's like a continuation of a challenge, I think, that happens for any founder, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like my partner is a solopreneur, right? And her business is a little bit smaller than what I just described to you, but she faces these bottlenecks, right? So it's like bottleneck after bottleneck after bottleneck. And early on, maybe better habits can help you get through a bottleneck, or
Yeah.
maybe a virtual assistant can help you get through a bottleneck. Maybe a new system can help you get through a bottleneck. But at some point, you actually need, you know, additional hands.
Mm-hmm.
And when there's a lot of mission critical work that needs to be done, that's where I can be helpful, right? Because the founder can keep doing the mission critical, non delegable work, the stuff that they can't take off their plate. And I can do the stuff that they can delegate that's mission critical, as well as support them on kind
Mm-hmm.
of their to do list.
What are some examples of work that you could delegate that you seem to be potentially common across when you come in that you're able to solve for?
Yeah, there's a range. So I'm usually working on both growth, right, and operations, right. So if
Mm-hmm.
I'm, let's say, working with companies from $1 million to $10 million in revenue, it's still usually all hands on deck around growth. So I'm not usually working only on ops related stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But the range of tasks is quite wide, right? So something that's mission critical but delegable, like let's just start with the ops side, but compliance stuff, like making sure the
Mm-hmm.
taxes are filed, making sure the financials are done properly, making sure HR is payroll is run properly, making sure core intellectual property considerations are taken into account. Like that stuff's not like super exciting necessarily, but it's really important. It
Yeah.
can kind of slow you down later on. And so those are examples on the ops side. On the growth side, thinking about one of my projects right now, what I try to do is free the founder to focus on the most strategic business opportunities. So like they need to be the face of the company on a critical customer call, right?
Hmm.
They need to be representing the company, and they have such deep insights into the product and how the company can help. They're really the right person for that job. But, really important customers that aren't the most strategic, I can do those introductory meetings. I can
Yeah.
take those intro meetings off the plate of the founder and then pull him into the second or third meeting. So those are a couple examples.
Yeah, you're cutting the noise. Like I was watching, I forgot it was an interview with someone who was talking about high performing business founders are able to cut the noise, identify 3 things within the day that they're able to get done, and only focus on those things and have their team focus on those teams. Where the ones who get bogged down are what it sounds like you're coming in, you're helping them focus on those 3 things, get done every day versus doing everything else that takes up 90% of the noise.
Exactly right. Yeah, like, and there's a lot of, and I think it's an important idea, and I think it's so powerful and wise. There's like a number of people who kind of promote this idea. Matt Mockery, is someone else who's pretty popular in the startup world who talks a lot about this, and that's exactly right,
Hmm.
right? And it's so interesting is that not every founder is amenable to it though, right? Like it there can be a lot of friction that people experience around actually making that move, making that change.
Yeah, giving up control, right? And trusting
Yeah,
that even though it's not done how they would exactly do it, that is progress over perfection at a certain point.
yeah, yeah, exactly. I agree. I think giving up control is scary, right? And I think it can just be scary, but it can also be scary because you actually don't have the right systems, or maybe you don't have the right
Hmm.
people. Like maybe the scaredness or the fear is well warranted. You're
Yeah.
not ready to be able to step away, um, because you're feeling distrust because you should be feeling distrust. So I think sometimes you're feeling distrust when you shouldn't, and sometimes you're feeling it when you should.
Well, so how would you help them identify the noise versus the action items?
Yeah. So what I would say is, um, it's a little bit different if they're already sort of like on the same page, if that makes any sense.
Hmm.
So to answer your question, like, so if there's a founder who's like, this isn't working, I really need help me figure out what I should be focusing on, right? So that's one scenario. And then the other is like there's a founder who's kind of drowning, right? And I could point out to them that they could be spending their time more wisely, but they're not really ready to hear it,
Hmm.
right? So there are two different scenarios, but usually I'm just sort of thinking about, you know, usually it's a conversation, right, with
Hmm.
the founder to kind of highlight, what are the most important things or the 3 most important things, and it is going to be kind of company specific, but it's usually something that like only the founder can do, right?
Hmm.
So, I think, founder led sales, right? So again, like talking to, um, being the face of the company for the most strategic customer conversations is something they need to be making time for example. But it's usually a conversation with the founder, about kind of where the company is, and where the company, kind of given the founder role, where the founder needs to be focusing around things like customer, investor conversations,
Hmm.
like a little bit of free time, a little bit of mind space to be thinking strategically about the environment, and the external environment in which the company's operating. That time to think and reflect about the company can also be an example of something that falls into that slot.
Awesome. So when you identify these, you have your initial discussion, you identify the noise, you identify the action items. How then do you support making sure that the noise is taken away and they're able to focus on the action item?
Yeah. So it can vary a little bit by founder in terms of
Hmm.
like how we execute. So like some founders, I've worked with, like, don't like a lot of structured meetings, for example, right? Like they want to feel like things are keep things kind of flexible, right?
Hmm.
And then some do more structured meetings in terms of sort of governing the situation. But um, you know, the 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 process, like when I get started, is is really a combination of kind of learning and listening and talking with people, but finding something for me to work on as quickly as possible and to continue learning in that way, right? So the idea is, yeah, let's do some meetings. Let's kind of come up with this hypothetical or tentative list of where the founder needs to be focused. What's our AI strategy, for example,
Hmm.
for the founder, right? Or who are our most important customers right now who we can't afford to churn out, and what kind of founder love do those customers need? What are our next big sales opportunities? So identifying those things, yeah, and then me getting my hands dirty, working with the founder and working on the things that I've identified for me to work on to continue my learning. And then we just sort of iterate from there. Like maybe we got something wrong on the founder list, right? Or let's replace item 2 and add, item 4.
Hmm.
Um, I have my roadmap I'm operating against now, right? Let's check in on that. Maybe we want to shift things around off of that roadmap. So it's not like a waterfall style consulting project. It's like a little bit of kind of getting grounded and then a lot of doing and learning.
Awesome. Now, for you and you acquiring new clients, what are some areas that you've had success and what are some areas that you're working through to make better?
Yes, in terms of my own biz dev.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so I've been doing this for 5.5 years.
Hmm.
I'm gonna add a little context because I
Yeah.
think different people's kind of fractional businesses or consulting businesses can have different flavors. So mine is, I've been doing it for 5.5 years, and I'm typically working on two main projects at a time, um, at least a year and maybe indefinitely, and then some small side projects.
Hmm.
I don't have I don't need to be replacing multiple clients per year, right? So someone whose typical engagement is 1 week long needs to have a lot more clients than I do. So just
Hmm.
adding that context, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, I do a lot of I think like a lot of people when they're starting out, and wisely so, I do a lot of networking within my community. I have this sort of notion of everyone who knows me and knows the quality of work that I do, and I'd like everyone who knows me and who knows the quality of work that I do to know what I'm doing, right? Like that's an aspirational goal, right? Because those are the people who can unequivocally recommend me, right?
Hmm.
And so I try to do networking. I have built a website, and I try to write a monthly blog post. I think organic SEO is the gift that keeps giving. I think
Yeah.
for I'm not going to say every business should be investing in organic SEO, but um, I think it's a great way to get the word out. And again, it has this long tail benefit. And then I'm active on LinkedIn, which is a natural watering hole for what I'm doing, right?
Hmm.
Because there are a lot of founders on LinkedIn
Yeah.
looking for information, engaging with one another. And so I don't know that LinkedIn is necessarily a perfect, watering hole for everyone in everyone's business,
Right.
but it's a really good channel for me.
Awesome. Yeah, there's a lot of good opportunity out there. You talk about SEO. Maybe what are some of the successes you've seen with SEO that you've been able to benefit from, especially on that long tail? Because it's not an overnight game. It's a it's a grind.
It is not. It is not an overnight game. Yeah, and it feels thankless
Hmm.
too for a long time. Um, well, let me. So I'm not a SEO expert, but I'll tell you, I'll focus on and answer your question is why SEO I think is such a smart strategy,
Hmm.
right? And um, so yeah, it basically goes to this idea that um, the customers that I really want are those with, to use a turn of phrase that Louis Grenier shared with me, who's a marketer. But this idea is you want customers with bleeding neck problems, right? Like you
Hmm.
want someone who has an urgent need to solve a problem that you can help them solve. you know, fishing in these very big pools of customers, you know, where maybe some very small number actually has a problem is something that a lot of us do. Sometimes we need to do it, but it's not something that really pays off well. The beauty of organic SEO is like literally someone has gone to the trouble, right, to sit down at their computer, type things into their, on their keyboard, into their Mac or what have you, because they have a problem to solve. Like they are literally sitting there looking and trying and researching to solve a problem, right? And so with the right keywords, right, when they put in the right keywords that you can help address, right, like those are just much more compelling conversations, right, than like cold outbound sequences to everyone who happens to have a specific title at a company
Yeah.
with a specific number of people in a specific country.
Yeah, I think you're talking about, as well as that, it's one of the channels that you should be using to leverage inbound leads,
Yeah,
right? Like if you break them
yeah,
up into two sides, like this is great for inbound. Like if you can get in front of people who have the problem, they're already at the point in the sales funnel where it's not the awareness, they're looking for solutions. And hey, you're popping up under a solution. Now you've got a higher probability of closing them as well, too.
exactly, right? It's beautiful. Just think about it, right? Like the
Mm-hmm.
efficiency of that, right? Like, and yeah, and it's not easy, right? And not every, not, and it's sometimes hard to identify the people, right?
Mm-hmm.
Who've visited your website, right? Oftentimes they're anonymous, but I I think it's like a good metaphor for like what I try to do in my sales and marketing, what I try to bring to my customers is like, again, find people with a bleeding neck problem, right? Like
Yeah.
find people who actually have, right, are in a struggling situation, desperately looking to make progress from that situation. Like those are the people that you want to try to identify first. Inbound is just a good example of that. And it's hard to do that. I mean, it's
Mm-hmm.
easier just to send cold outbound sequences or to run ads. And we need to do some of that, yes, but it's worth doing the hard work to try to narrow in, right, on people
Yeah.
with the problem you solve.
Yeah, I agree. Having all those things going on, because essentially, like where we seek success is that we have paid ad, say, just Google campaign. You build the content, you then find people looking for that solution. You put paid ad in front of them. You put your site, hopefully, an organic is up high enough for them to click to. And if they come to your site from a different place, you're able to follow them around on the web, maintain awareness to get them to contact you as well, too, right? Like it's there's so many different moving factors involved in the digital space. So then you have, AI search results, clickless search results. So you want to make sure that you're getting in there as well too. And a little tip is just post your content in there. Be like, hey, this is a link to my page. Make sure everyone's aware of it, whoever searches around this. Like tell it to tell people, like ChatGPT, tell it to tell people this is an answer, which right now we're seeing good success with. Some easy stuff you could do there. But yeah, it's a big game. If someone's listening and trying to scale right now, what's one piece of advice you wish you had earlier on?
So if someone's trying to scale now,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, I do think that one of the frameworks that I kind of tripped upon, like in the middle of my career, which I've found very powerful, and it's just a framework, and there are lots of different names for the same ideas, but is the jobs to be done framework. But one of the reasons why I like it is just that, you know, uh, like Bob Mesta, who's one of the co-creators of Jobs to be Done, has has this notion that you can't create demand.
Hmm.
And I do think a lot of very smart people, and maybe including myself, from time to time, right? Like we kind of fall into this trap that we can like create demand. Like we can convince someone, right, to solve a problem that they don't have.
Hmm.
And I think that's a mistake a lot of people make. And I really try to keep it top of mind, right? Like what we're doing is, for selling a product or marketing a product or providing a service, we are uncovering demand.
Hmm.
We're surfacing demand that's already there, and then someone may have a problem and they may not even know how to solve it, right? But so then our job is to kind of feed them the breadcrumbs to help them figure out how to solve their. And I think it's a very similar, it's a very simple kind of framework, but I think it's like the fundamental, kind of concept behind a successful business.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I think if you kind of like start off day one under, kind of really, you knowing in your heart like that's how you're going to be successful, I think it can really help. It gets everyone focused on understanding the customer problem. And I think a lot of businesses don't scale because they don't they there actually is not a meaningful problem that they're solving, right? Like they don't get past that initial
Yeah.
that initial point, and they just spend a lot of time um, circling around it. But if there's not a problem to be solved, right? Because there's already great solutions out there, or there's too much competition, there are too many similar people already
Mm-hmm.
solving the problem, or it's like a really cool idea, and on paper it sounds really compelling, but people actually don't experience right struggle that you're solving for. Well, you're not going to scale right beyond a certain level.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. And if you had a magic wand, what would be something you'd wave it to address in business right now to help you continue to scale?
With my business,
Yeah.
well, so this is going to be ironic. So,
Create demand.
the irony is, like, if I had a magic wand right now, I just need more time,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? Which is
Which is what you're solving for a lot of other people.
yeah. I'm yeah, I just need more time, right? Because like, so for example, like I need more time to be writing, like I think really interesting blog posts. I want to be connecting with more people in my community. I want to be contributing valuably to conversation on LinkedIn.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I struggle with that, with making time for all that. And I have a lot of great ideas and a lot of post-it notes in a pile here next to my desk of all the things I want to do and things I want to
Yeah.
write and updates to the website. And I just make very slow progress kind of getting through that list.
I know. It's funny because I kind of follow the same thing, at least with my personal side, is that I've got all these ideas and things I want to do, but I'm busy solving everyone else's problems, for our clients and everything, versus being able to get to the stuff that we need to, that would help us grow, get more clients, and hire people to take care of a lot of more of the distractions.
Yeah. Yeah. No, well said. I guess it's a good problem to have.
Yeah.
But yeah, nonetheless, it is a struggle.
Awesome. So where can people connect with you or learn more about what you're doing?
Yeah. So I do have a website. It's johngauch.com. And like I said a moment ago, I like to be active on LinkedIn. And so it's always great to be in touch, whether through a direct message or on posts. Those are the two best places.
Awesome. Well, thank you for taking the time.
It was a real pleasure. Great conversation.
Awesome. All right, John.